Hello everyone, I am Yue Wu and today I am going to talk about open sources. From this presentation, I would like to introduce the definition of open sources and open sources implemented, open source code and open sources software and also the benefits of them. Open sources as a development model promotes a universal access via a free license to a product's design or blueprint and a universal distribution of that design or blueprint, including subsequent improvements to it by anyone. For open source, we would have a company to provide the open source since it is a technology. As a global non-profit, the Open Source Initiative, also called OSI, protects and promotes open sources, championing open sources in society through education, collaboration, and also infrastructure. There are a few examples of open sources initiative, such as Wikimedia Foundation, Sahana Software Foundation, and so on. We can see that there are a lot of them. We have talked about open sources, then what actually makes the open sources so different? The next, I would like to introduce the open source code. Generally, open source code refers to a computer program in which the source code is available to general public for use or modification from its original design. Open source code can be improved upon the source code and shared changes within the community by the programmers. But there are also closed sources such as iOS and Windows. They do not share their code with the public, so they can be called the closed sources. Here are a few examples of closed sources and open sources. The first one is Android, and the reflects to the Windows Phone and iOS. Open source also has an open source software. Then what actually open source software is? Open source software is a software whose source code is available for modification or added by anyone else. Source code is a part of software that most computer users do not even see. Programmers who have access to a computer program's source code can improve that program by adding features to it or fixing parts of it that do not work correctly. Here are an example of open source software. The first one I would like to talk about is Linux. It is the best known and most used open source operating system. The software that sits underneath all of other software on a computer receiving requests from those programs and relaying those requests to the computer's hardware. The second one I would like to introduce is LibreOffice. LibreOffice is free and open source software. The development is open to new talent and new ideas, and their software is tested and used daily by a large and devoted user community. The next one is Android. Android is also a good example of open source software. It is created for a wide area of devices with different form factors. The primary purpose of Android are to create an open software platform available for carriers and developers to make their innovative ideas a reality and to introduce a successful real-world product that improves the mobile experience for users. The next one is a web browser which called Firefox. It is developed by a company, and it is available for Windows, iOS, and Linux operation system. There are lots of benefits of open source software, such as they are more reliable, more secure, and more flexible, and so on. And the one most important thing is that they are for free. I would like to say that it is not mean it is better just because you pay for it, such as Windows Phone and iOS system. The open source software are more security, more faster, and they're for free for people. It has benefits, but open source also has conflicts in the society. Many people believe that open source project could make $1 million each year, but those contributors are unpaid. So or in all, it is good for people to use open source in the future. And I believe that many years later, the open source software could change the world. Thank you.